Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk a little bit about an important question that comes up pretty much every time there's a patch or a hotfix or a new expansion, and something that is at the root of a lot of questions I get in YouTube comments as well. And that is, how do I know what classes or specs are being played successfully in RBGs? Leaders want to know because they want to be able to put together a good comp that's going to play well together and be able to team fight well as cover the bases basically, and still have a flag carrier and all the other roles covered. And then individuals want to know so that they can play something that's in demand, so that they're not learning to play something that, you know, maybe they put in a lot of time and effort and study and artifact power into a particular class, and then nobody wants them when it comes to time for RBGs. So this is something that comes up quite a bit, and there's a few different approaches that you can take when doing your research for what classes and spec, you know, are being played in RBGs. First, you can, if you're really hardcore, get into the actual patch notes and study. Now, there are some people that say, oh yeah, I totally do this, but a lot of them are only studying for their own class, and while they might think that certain classes got a buff, there will be other classes that got a much larger buff, and they outweigh the benefits in RBGs. At least it's a little bit harder to go about doing that unless you got the time and the understanding comprehensively of kind of all the classes, and you're really into the PvP scene to really be able to pick apart the patch notes sometimes and get ultimately the same answer that a lot of the higher rated teams are coming to themselves. The other option is that, or the other thing that I see a lot of people doing, is just going around asking questions, leaving comments on YouTube, which is fine, but getting into BGs and asking their friends, what do you think about taking this or that, or who's going to be a good FC? And a lot of sort of just hearsay dictates what people end up playing or taking in their RBG comps. But I'd say if you really want to just look at real numbers, statistics, I'm a numbers guy, go to a third-party website, or there's probably add-ons that can track these sorts of things, but you can find the data out there for who's playing what at a given time. Now that means that maybe when a patch first comes out that day, there's going to be a little bit of chaos as people kind of feel their way around what's going to be efficient, what's not. But a few days later, people have generally kind of figured out, at least at the higher ratings in RBGs, and same with 2s and 3s, what's going to work and what's not. And that reflects in what classes and specs are actually being played. So today I'm going to show you a website that I like using, and I'll do for now a shout out to Garasar from the Technically PvP podcast. He introduced me to this website, and I'm going to kind of walk you through how it works a little bit and what you can get out of checking out this website, just to see what's going on in the PvP scene and how that can be helpful to you when building your groups. So if you've ever wondered how a lot of the third-party websites or the add-ons work, I'm going to go through this just real briefly, just so you can see that this isn't some sort of magic really. It's just programmers at work. Here we have the Battle.net API website, where they basically give programmers the ability to access the database that's kind of under the covers of WoW and Overwatch and all their other games. In order to do this, you have to register as a developer, and they give you an API key, kind of like a password, that you use within your code. And here on the IO docs, you can come here and basically try it out without having to do any code itself once you have the key. But anyway, just scrolling through here, through the key, you can see achievements and auction house stuff, bosses, leaderboards for the realm and the region, a lot of stuff on characters and pets, individual PvP stats. And I'm going to scroll down here a little bit more. The one that we're going to talk a little bit, or that the website that we're going to talk about today uses most likely is this leadership boards. I don't work for them. I don't know anything about them, how they work under the covers, and they're not sponsoring this video, just to say that up front. But the idea is that you can come in here and say, okay, I want 2v2 or 3v3, 5s, RBGs, and locale can be US, that's fine. And then just to say try it takes a few seconds, and I'll show you kind of what comes back. And we are sort of nerding out here. We'll get to the cool stuff in a bit. But once this is done, then it comes back, okay, response is okay, everything worked. And then you can see this really long response body. This is basically all of the leadership boards for RBGs for roughly anybody above a certain rank rating. So it looks like it stops at 1900. There might be additional settings for this. This is just sort of the demo. But and I haven't delved too much into this, but that's kind of what's going on. Then the coders go through and take this content here, and they're able to turn it into the nice tables and spreadsheets that you see within your add-ons and your websites. So moving on, the website that I wanted to show you today is called ArenaMate.net, and here you can they have this nice little interface where I can come in and say, okay, I'm interested in the states, and yeah, I can pick a realm if I want. We'll just leave it at any for now. And let's say we're interested in statistics for RBGers with a rating of, say, 1800 or above. And we'll say set the ladder to RBG ladder, and we'll do any alliance or horde, it doesn't matter. And if you wanted, you could pick individual classes, but we'll leave that blank as is and hit filter. And then scrolling down here, now you can see statistics on the classes, the specs, the races, and which realms, and how many people are above that rating at this time. This ladder was updated 2 minutes ago, so it's not real time, but it's it's decent enough. Here we can see, just based off of these stats, that of the people who are 1800 and above in RBGs right now, 23.7% of them are all running Druid. 22% of them are monks. We got 10% Demon Hunter. A little under 10% are warlocks. We got some DKs, some rogues, some priests, on and on and on, down to currently mages and warriors and shaman are kind of in the bottom of the top 13. Not doing terribly well lately in RPGs. And then over here under specs, you can see of these people playing Druid, a large majority of them are Boomkin, and there's a small handful of them doing Feral, and right behind Boomkin there's a couple of Restos, is there. You can see that the vast majority of those people playing monks are all Mistweaver. So you can kind of get a gist of what's been working across the board statistically for the higher rated players, and what are they doing for their classes and their specs. Now, the shortfall of this is there's no way for them to really tell, as far as I can tell, who's grouping with who, or who's sitting bases, or who's flag carrying. For the most part, this is these are stats on their classes and their races and kind of who's playing what based off of their rating. It would be great if there were some way to be able to say, okay, this is the actual comp that's working. The best you can do here is maybe jack this all the way up to, I don't know, something pretty high, 2500, and do a filter on that. Now that gets you a small enough subset, 32 people, all of them horde, and you can see what their classes and specs are. So that's roughly 3 teams worth of players. And from here, it's a little bit easier to tell, okay, in each team there's going to be 3 Mistweavers, and there's going to be a bunch of Boomkins and a bunch of Demon Hunters, and maybe 1 Lock, 1 Rogue, and there might be a healer that's not a Mistweaver, and then a DK or something in there, but no warriors or mages. That's kind of a way to get a gist of an actual comp, or in terms of how many of each they're running. But again, that's really just the top end players. We could drop this down maybe 100 points and get a little bit better of a representation. That gets you, okay, 2 mages out of the 85 people with 2400 in RBGs, and 1 shaman. So you kind of get a gist of what's been nerfed lately in terms of RBGs. Now, this could be completely different for the 2s or 3s bracket. Certain classes will do a lot better in arenas than they will in RBGs. It's just a contextual shift for a lot of them, and RBGs are very different from arenas. So, and if you scroll down here, you can see individuals and kind of poke into what are they doing at each rating. One thing I do wish that would be nice to do with this slider here is to be able to have maybe a min and a max, so I could see from 18 to 1900 what's being played. It would be kind of nice, I think. So anyway, another nice feature of this website is if you come up here to graphs, you can kind of see, let's click on RBGs, over time what's happening. Now this is updated, looks like every week, and these colors do not match the classes. This purple, I guess that purple is this purple is druid, and then we have the orange for monk. So don't go off of the colors here. You have to look at the key or hover over these, but you can kind of see that druids are on the rise lately, and monks are taking a little bit of a dip. And down here you can see warriors, mages are all kind of flatlining down here at the bottom. Anyway, this is really nice to kind of just see. Maybe you thought that something was doing well last week, but now they're not, and you can just sort of validate that assumption here. Same thing with individual specs. You can see balanced druid spiked, looks like last week, and then they're leveling off just a little bit from last week to this week. They're kind of about the same. You can see Mistweavers have been pretty high, and then they're starting to taper off a little bit, just as I don't know, there's probably another healer. Resto Druids are making a bit of a comeback in this week. So when you're asking yourself, what should my comp be, or why can't I get into certain groups because of my class or my spec, then you can kind of come here and see, well, this is what they want. And this is just sort of reality, panning itself out. So hopefully you find this website or something like it to be as useful as I have. Does it mean that you have to go with the same class and spec that everybody else is going with? No, you could be the one person that just represents the underdog class really well for that period of time. And you're free to play the game however you wish. But if you've ever played in an RBG or in a game where it felt like everyone on your team and everyone on the other team they're all good players and playing their classes to the best of their ability, and yet that other team is just stomping all over you still, and it just feels like you're going up against class imbalance, well, at least looking at these stats will give you a little bit of insight into why people are playing those comps. It doesn't necessarily tie it to the forums, which is where in detail you'll be able to understand what's happened with certain classes. But in terms of just what are people playing, this is a great way to just get that quick oversight of statistics into what's going on in the PvP scene. As always, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will be back again next week with another video.
It's not
That's just unfortunate to queue into a team like that, honestly.
I guess that's like the perfect team comp. At least we could learn from that, though, if you're trying to assemble the perfect team comp.
This is only the perfect team comp if you have competent players behind those classes.